Hi, thank you for joining us on this episode of Sports Bets for Free. My name is Scott Jenkins, your host, just a local sports bettor here in Phoenix, Arizona. And hopefully today with our picks and your picks is going to be another profitable day for you. It's Saturday, January 27th, basketball slate, bunch of college games, NBA game. NBA has a full slate as well. We're coming to you a little bit after the first game's tip off here, but not much going on in those. So we will get started today with college matchups we like. So we'll get right into those as we have a ton of bets today, ton of games we're looking at. So Kansas at Iowa State. KU, top 10 team in the country, was preseason number one. Iowa State, one of the best teams at home in the country, period. And against the spread at home. The line has moved from 3.5 yesterday, where it opened, to 4.5 today. We did hop on Iowa State yesterday as we circle this matchup basically every season, take Iowa State at home against KU. No difference today. Still like them at the 4.5. Obviously like it better at the 3.5, but still like the 4.5. I think, honestly, a lot of times KU's playing 3-on-5 when it comes to scoring because Dajuan Harris just continues to not decide to shoot the ball. And, they got three primary scorers. The other two guys are more like window dressing out there where, the Iowa State definitely has a full five. KU struggles with depth. They were hoping to develop some depth here, I think, with some of the young players, but just haven't quite turned out yet. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to roll with Iowa State today. It was not a question on that one whatsoever. So Iowa State minus 2.5 first half, minus 3.5 for the game. Iowa State minus 2.5 first half, minus 3.5 for the game. Next game up for us, we're going to be looking at North Carolina, Florida State. Game opened at 7.5. We kind of hopped on yesterday as we do the look-aheads to make sure we catch anything. We like Florida State in this particular matchup. Game was close in Chapel Hill. Expect kind of the same thing here. Florida State's, I wouldn't call them a spectacular team, but good at home and long enough to distract the Tar Heels here. So we're going to take Florida State in this one here, plus 3.5 first half, plus 7.5 for the game. So one more time, Florida State against North Carolina, plus 3.5 first half, plus 7.5 for the game. Next game up we're going to get to here is going to be Texas at BYU. Texas has played really strong here as of late after they had a couple hiccups early. BYU is pretty deadly when they're making threes. When they're not making threes, they are not. So we're going to assume maybe they're just a little under the norm today. But giving Texas 7.5 here when I think they've got superior athletes, I think could pose a problem here for BYU. So we're going to take the points today in this particular matchup. Texas plus 3.5 first half, plus 7.5 for the game. One more time, Texas plus 3.5 first half, plus 7.5 for the game. Next game up we're going to be on is going to be Clemson at Duke. Clemson's fallen out of the top 25. Duke just continues to underwhelm, I think might be the best way to put it here. Everybody expected Duke to be fabulous, I think, at the start of the season. They've been disappointing, I think, all the way around, especially when covering in this one. So we are going to take Clemson on the road. This is not an easy task for Duke, even though they are at home. But we will take Clemson plus 4.5 first half, plus 7.5 for the game. One more time, Clemson plus 4.5 first half, plus 7.5 for the game. Next game up for us is going to be Kentucky, Arkansas. Kentucky 7.5 point favorite against Arkansas, going to Fayetteville in that one. Kentucky's had a pretty daunting stretch here, I think, the last few weeks, kind of rough part of their schedule. I think Kentucky's got enough firepower to get the win here. I just think Arkansas is going to keep this close, and being a game day game to boot, I think this is just going to even fuel the Arkansas even more. So we will take Arkansas plus 3.5 first half, plus 7.5 for the game, being at home. One more time, Arkansas plus 3.5 first half, plus 7.5 for the game. We also have a couple other games that we're on. Give me a second just to get to those. We do like Northwestern quite a bit today as well. It's one of the games that we're going to get to here. They do play this evening as well. So one more second here. We should be about home. Yeah, Northwestern at home against Ohio State. This line does keep moving quite a bit as well. So you're going to have to hop on early on this one to get on. But Northwestern was 1.5 yesterday when it opened, and it's already moved to 3.5. So we do like Northwestern. We actually got them -1.5 first half and -1.5 for the game. One more time, Northwestern -1.5 first half, -1.5 for the game. And the last college game we're on, Washington at home against Utah. This line's moved. It was a pick 'em yesterday. It's Washington +1. We did take Washington money line previously because we thought it was going to move the other way. I'm kind of surprised. But Washington money line first half and Washington money line for the game. Now we'll get into the NBA slate. Whole mess of games today. We got 4, 5, 6. We got 10 NBA games today. We're going to be on the first 9. We are holding off currently on the Kings Mavs until we get a little bit more of injury update. I think Luka coming off the 73 points yesterday is just kind of a lot to ask him, and especially on a back-to-back night. Now, they do go back home, but Sacramento likes to run that pace. I know Luka can slow down that pace, but on that one, we're going to kind of wait and see if Kyrie is actually going to play or if that's kind of just a guess. But what a night in the NBA last night, though. Luka goes off for 73. Booker goes for 62. We've had some monster point performances, no question about it. But we'll get into the first game first. It's currently going on. Wizards, Pistons. We didn't like anything except player props in this particular game, and just a few. The bad basketball trio of this two teams. Both teams are going to struggle, I think, to win 12, 15 games this season. It's just downright ugly. But we will take Daniel Gafford over a half a turnover. We normally go to that one as that seems to cash, even though it is pretty juicy, -190. Tyus Jones over 1.5 threes is plus money. Just 2 3-pointers over 13.5 points. So one more time in this Wizards-Pistons game, Gafford over a half a turnover. Tyus Jones over 1.5 threes over 13.5 points. Next game we're going to get up into is going to be Heat at the Knicks. Knicks have won 5 in a row. Heat have lost 5 in a row, and somehow this line moved down. Somebody's going to explain this to me. Not only that, when the Knicks play afternoon games in the Garden, they seem to dominate. And since the OG Anunoby trade really defined some roles, I think, for the Knicks, as they don't have to constantly feed RJ Barrett to score. OG gets his points, and he had a great scoring performance, and we expect another one out of him. The Heat have really struggled as of late. Terry Rozier trade, he's sparingly played so far. Since Jimmy Butler's come back, the team's kind of been in major disarray. They default too much to Jimmy instead of before with Bam and Hero and Duncan Robinson coming off the bench. They spread the ball around quite a bit, but when Jimmy gets there, it definitely slows down the pace, what this team was doing before, and they haven't quite figured out defensively how to kind of match that with when Jimmy Butler's there. So we're going to ride with the Knicks. Like I said, we took this line yesterday at 5. I thought this thing was going to go 7.5, and it went down to 4.5. So even more kudos to you for waiting. Knicks -1.5 first quarter, -2.5 first half, -5 for the game. OG over 14.5 points, over 1.5 threes. We're also going to take an alternate 3 line at 3 plus threes, plus 230 on FanDuel. Over 21.5 par, and then Julius Randle always going to his over 3.5 turnovers, because that guy is the biggest ball muffling up guy I've ever seen in my life. So one more time in this Knicks-Heats matchup. Knicks -1.5 first quarter, -2.5 first half, -5 for the game. OG over 14.5 points, over 1.5 threes. Alt line 3 plus threes, and over 21.5 par. Randall over 3.5 turnovers. Really good matchup going on in the next afternoon game here. 76ers at the Nuggets. I guess it's 5:40 Eastern time, but out here in Phoenix, 3:40. 76ers 5.5 point road dog going to Denver. And they should be, to be really honest. Denver's extremely good at home. Philly is suspect on the road, probably to say the least. Looks like we are going to get Embiid Jokic matchup. There's no designation on them for them to sit out. I don't know why, but when they tend to play this game, that's what it ends up being. The Nuggets, though, are one of the best under teams They cash a lot of unders. 228 is the total on this one. We're going to kind of stay away from that. We do like the Nuggets today. We took them yesterday on the look-ahead line at -4, but we do like a few certain things in here besides the Nuggets. So Nuggets -1.5 first quarter, -3 first half, -4 for the game. We were like Aaron Gordon this matchup. We like the value on most of his props here, over 14.5 points, over 23.5 par. Jokic over a half a block. That is pretty juicy, -220 on looked like FanDuel on that one. We would have got it. And then Embiid over 3.5 turnovers. We expect him to. The big guys are normally loose with the ball. It's pretty rare when they're real tight with the ball, unless it's either one pass in, no dribbles. But when they have to put the ball on the floor, definitely put the ball in harm's way. So one more time in this Nuggets 76ers matchup. Nuggets -1.5 first quarter, -3 first half, -4 for the game. Aaron Gordon over 14.5 points, over 23.5 par. Jokic to get a block, and Embiid over 3.5 turnovers. Next game up is going to be Nets Rockets. Rockets come off a big win yesterday, but it was just against Charlotte, so don't get too excited on that one. Nets have been playing decently. We'll put it to you that way. This should be an interesting matchup. The Nets have so many wings, and to be really honest, the Rockets have a lot of them too. The difference is Sengun, big man for the Rockets. Nick Claxton is not your tip. He's more of your defensive rebounder type big man. But a lot of wings on both sides. Not a lot of true defined roles. A lot of interchangeable parts. So it should be pretty interesting. I think the best player on the floor for either team, though, is Mikal Bridges. Really do. I think Mikal, I'm a huge Mikal fan. Some nights, though, he does go disappearing from the scoring option when I don't think he should. Cam Thomas is a big reason for that. I'm not a big Cam Thomas fan at all. I think the offense stops when he gets the ball because he doesn't pass it. So why keep moving if you're never going to get the ball? Why work through all those screens and running around when you're not going to get it? When Cam Thomas gets it, he's always looking to shoot. So, but we do like the Nets here today. I just think the best player is going to get it home with Mikal. So we're going to take the Nets -1.5 first quarter, -2.5 first half, -4.5 for the game. We're going to go back to the well on the under Sengun props, so under 22.5 points and under 37.5 par, but we will take his over 2.5 turnovers. Mikal Bridges, who we like quite a bit, over 23.5 points, over 2.5 threes made, and over 32.5 par. So one more time in this Nets-Rockets matchup, Nets -1.5 first quarter, -2.5 first half, -4.5 for the game. Sengun under 22.5 points, under 37.5 par, over 2.5 turnovers. Bridges over 23.5 points, over 2.5 threes, and over 32.5 par. Next game up, we're going to have the Clippers at the Celtics. This game has been pretty interesting to say the least. It should be interesting. It's the second game. As the dogs go crazy here, as I see another dog. Sorry about that, everybody. Celtics did beat the Clippers by 40 in LA. Absolutely destroyed them on that one there, but Clippers have been red hot. One of the 4 games they've lost out of their last 25 games they played has been to the Celtics. James Harden is an issue going against these better teams, but he dominates against the lesser opponent, right? So I think that's a huge deal in this particular matchup. It looks like Porzingis is going to be out after he rolled his ankle on that one. That does, I think, I don't know if it does hurt them in a way that they don't have maybe that inside presence or a guy that can sneak swing 5 on that one. But the Celtics have more than enough firepower here. We really like the Celtics today. Clippers coming off a back-to-back as well. So Celtics -2.5 first quarter, -4.5 first half, -7.5 for the game. Jaylen Brown over 23.5 points, over 2.5 threes, over 32.5 par. We also like Drew Holiday, over 13.5 points, over 2.5 threes, over 23.5 par. And, of course, the James Harden over 2.5 turnovers is back, so we're hopping all over that one like crazy as well on this matchup here. So we're going to go Celtics -2.5 first quarter, -4.5 first half, minus 7.5 for the game. Jaylen Brown over 23.5 points, over 2.5 threes, over 32.5 par. Drew Holiday over 13.5 points, over 2.5 threes, and over 23.5 par. James Harden over 2.5 turnovers. Next matchup, Jazz at the Hornets. Somebody's going to have to explain to me after this, Terry, what the hell are they doing with LaMelo Ball's minutes? I don't get it. He played 9 minutes in the first half. He played the first 9 minutes of the game in the first quarter and then sat the last 3 minutes in the freaking whole second quarter. What are they doing? Like, if you don't want LaMelo Ball on your team, trade him. I'm sure somebody will trade for LaMelo. Promise you. I don't get that at all. What are they doing? They don't have anybody. Brandon Miller, who's been on an absolute tear as of late, scores like 5 points because you don't get him a lot of shots yesterday. I don't get it. Now, the Jazz do not play defense. This has been proven time and time again. The Jazz win games, and they're around 500 or above, but the Hornets make no sense. Like, they need to get a new coach, something. But, let's give these guys a chance to play. Let your stars play. Miles Bridges is not the future of this team. Nick Richards, probably not going to be the future of this team. LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller are. Get their ass in the game. I don't get it. We're not taking a side here, even though we should probably take the Jazz minus 10 at Charlotte. That's an absolute embarrassment to have the Jazz come in and be a 10-point favorite on your home floor. Absolute embarrassment. We'll see if they got any fight left in them. But we're going to take Colin Sexton over 18.5 points, over 26.5 par. Lauri Markkanen over 24.5 points, over 2.5 threes, and over 35.5 par. Brandon Miller we'll go back to, as he was hot for like a 7-8 game stretch, and all of a sudden they just didn't want to play him for some reason. Over 16.5 points and over 2.5 threes. In this matchup, it just blows my mind on this LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller deal. These are the two probably future cornerstones of your team, and you just decide not to play them. Like, they're in the game for a few minutes, and then we yank them. And you got no continuity whatsoever. Please, God almighty, play your stars a little bit. If you're down 40 in the fourth quarter, I understand, but you're a team that's struggling anyway. You should play them till the end. Let him stat pad, if anything else. But anyway, in this game, Colin Sexton over 18.5 points, over 26.5 par. Lauri Markkanen over 24.5 points, over 2.5 threes, and over 35.5 par. Brandon Miller over 16.5 points and over 2.5 threes. Normally, we're all over Melo on his player props, but like I said, if it's an attitude problem or whatever, okay, but you still have to play him. Like, he's not going anywhere. You're going somewhere before he is. Trust me on that. So, anyway, enough of my barking, I guess, about that particular game. We'll get on to the next one. Bucks, Pelicans. Bucks come out back-to-back. The Pelicans back-to-back. Pelicans have to travel. Pelicans got embarrassed last night against the Thunder, I think. Would they score 80, 90 points? Who the hell scores 80, 90 points in an NBA game? With no defense? Come on. There's no hands. You can't touch nobody. It's hard to breathe on somebody. I don't get it. I don't know what kind of effort you're going to get out of the Pelicans tonight. There's one thing I know for sure. Giannis is going to give you effort. That's what I know in this game. I don't know what you're going to get out of the Pelicans. So we'll stick with Giannis props only in this game. Giannis over 33.5 points, over 11.5 rebounds. And as much as he'll try, he'll still turn the ball over 4+ times, so over 3.5 turnovers. So Giannis over 33.5 points, over 11.5 rebounds, over 3.5 turnovers. Like I said, I don't know what kind of effort you're going to get out of the Pelicans tonight. They could just absolutely lay down, or they might show some fight. They've been a little hard to read. Some of these losses that they have are just don't make any sense. Like, if they'd have lost to the Thunder by 5 to 10 points, no issues, right? Everybody loses. No problem whatsoever. But, I mean, to lose by like 20 at home and not score like 80s and the 90s, come the hell on that one. Next game up, though, One of the fan favorites of the night, Lakers at the Warriors. Lakers 1.5-point favorite, 243 total. I'm sorry, Lakers 1.5-point dog on the road at Golden State. Lakers not good on the road. Warriors have not been good as a favorite all season long. This game, they have played one game so far. It was in the 250s. A lot of people looking at the total. This thing's moved almost 5 points. We're staying away from the total. These things, when they get into the 240s plus, I mean, you realistically got to look at they can't really have a bad quarter. If there's just an off shooting quarter or something, you're toast on the total if you go over. We'd look under on this game, but to be really honest, the way the Warriors played against the Kings, I mean, the Lakers might score 150, so you can't really bet that on that side either. So player props only in this particular matchup for us. We're focusing on AD, LeBron. AD over 25.5 points, over 11.5 rebounds, over 1.5 blocks. LeBron over 24.5 points, over 1.5 threes. And Steph Curry over 2.5 turnovers. So one more time, Warriors, Lakers. We've got Anthony Davis over 25.5 points, over 11.5 rebounds, over 1.5 blocks. LeBron over 24.5 points, over 1.5 threes. Steph Curry over 2.5 turnovers. The next game up is going to be Timberwolves at the Spurs. Spurs win last night. I will say this, when they are the favorite, they win and they cover. You can't argue with that one. Wemby, for the first time I think in a month, didn't hit his point prop. It was 24.5, ends at 23. But it was his highest point prop it's been, I think, all season long on that. T-Wolves definitely have much better defense coming into town. They are fresh, didn't play last night. I think the T-Wolves are going to win. 10.5 is quite a bit, but the Spurs they play a lot of Ole defense except for Wembanyama, and he's trying to block every shot that he possibly can, but on there. But we do like just props tonight. Wemby and AD, are not AE, Anthony Edwards for us. So Wemby over 21.5 points, over 1.5 threes. We'll also take an alt line at 3+ threes as he hit it last night as well. Over 35.5 par, over 2.5 blocks, and over 3.5 turnovers. Anthony Edwards over 27.5 points and over 38.5 par. The only thing that scares me on those two is if the T-Wolves get up 25 going into the fourth, he won't play in the fourth quarter, but we'll hope he decides that he wants to score early and do some damage. So one more time in this Spurs-Timberwolves game, Wemby over 21.5 points, over 1.5 threes, 3+ 3-pointers made, over 35.5 par, over 2.5 blocks, and over 3.5 turnovers. Anthony Edwards over 27.5 points and over 38.5 par. Like I mentioned at the start of the show, we're going to stay away from Kings Mavericks at the moment until we get a little bit more information. Please make sure you check out the Google Sheets at the end of every show. There'll be a link in the comments section. It'll say docs.google.spreadsheet, a bunch of other stuff after it. This is a link to a ledger of all of our bets, what juice we got that at, how many units, and of course what book we placed that, then the result once the game's over. So do make sure you check that out. And as always, if you could subscribe and get notifications to the YouTube channel, it makes life really simple. Once you hit that subscribe button, turn notifications on for YouTube, you get a notification to your phone or device to let you know Sports Bets for Free has dropped a new show of bets and give you plenty of time to match them up with your bets and give you that ton of confidence you need heading to the betting app or betting window. I do appreciate everybody's support as always and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.